words, can anyone describe evolution? Or any examples they have? Yeah, Aisha?
Evolution is when one species has an adaptation or creates an adaptation and passes it on to their offspring, so they species
So how would it pass it on to its offspring?
by creating more offspring. Or what do you mean, like through their genes or what?
Yeah, through their genes, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm passing something on in my genetics, can I pass something that I learned during my life? If I get really good, if I curl my hair, for example, and I have a baby, I pass that on to my children. Jasmine, I see you shaking your head, why not? Exactly, it's not in my genes. So when I'm creating children, it's not going to be passed on in my DNA. So, in your own words, what is natural selection then? What does it sound like? Well, it's nature selecting. What's it selecting? Milan. What is nature selecting for in evolution? Well, we're talking about adaptations. So what does an adaptation do? Anthony, what's an adaptation do? It'll make you better or less good at living in your environment? Better, okay? So would nature be selecting for good adaptations or bad ones? Good ones, okay. So you guys looked a little bit at drug resistance and this disease called tuberculosis. What's another example of this that you guys talked about? What did Darwin look at? Do you remember, Will? Yeah. You looked at their beaks and stuff. So if I'm a bird and all of a sudden there's lots of really big seeds, what adaptation would I develop? What adaptation would we see popping up more often? If I have big seeds and I want to eat them, what adaptation would we see popping up, Kiwan? Would you see big beaks or would you see small beaks? So if we've got the finches and they're living on an island and all of a sudden we start to see more big seeds, are we going to tend to start to see more finches that have big beaks or that have small beaks? Big beaks. So big beaks in this case is what? It's helping it adapt to its environment, so it's in. Does anyone else have the answer for him? Yeah, you got it. Anthony, you said it. Yes, I heard you say it. What was it? We could break it to parts. Adaptation. Go ahead and say it. Everyone say it. Adaptation. One more time. Adaptation.
Adaptation.
So if I have lots of adaptations over time for hundreds and hundreds of years, that's what makes evolution happen. So if I have this bird and it's got a really big beak, is that beak something that it learned to have? No. So how to get it? How do you get the things that are part of your body? From who? Which are from your... Exactly. So that bird didn't learn to have a big beak. It just had a big beak. And so most likely its parents had a big beak and their having a big beak was an adaptation. It made it easier for them to survive, so they were more likely to have kids who would have their genes. Now if I was a bird with a little beak, would I survive there? No. So would I pass on my genes? Milan, would I pass on my genes? No. So would there be more birds with that little beak in the future? No. So that's what evolution is. It's just little changes over a long period of time and it being big changes. Okay. So this is a reef shark. I swam with a reef shark once. It was really scary. But they actually only eat little fish, which is really lucky because they never bite humans, at least so I'm told. So if you were to guess think for a minute to yourself for like 30 seconds. What are sharks related to? If you just look at it and you have to guess what other animals sharks could be related to, what would be your guess? Just go ahead and write it down. Easy. All right. Real quick, what do you think it would be related to? Everyone should be writing something down. Sharks look like they can be related to what animal? Maybe something else that lives in the ocean, something that looks similar. What would be your guess? Come on, what are you gonna write down? Something. Okay, 10 more seconds. Okay, Juan, what did you write down?
I don't know many fishes. I just don't know.
Well, you said fishes. So you think sharks are related to fishes?
Yeah.
Why makes you think that?
They have a lot of similar parts.
So what parts?
The gills.
Fins, gills. What else on a shark looks like a fish? What is the tail? They have this tail over here. So these parts of the shark look like another animal. They look kind of like these fish. They both have these tails and these fins, these gills. So sometimes if you're trying to see where the trends in evolution happened, trying to see, well, what could have evolved over time from another animal maybe, then you look to see things that are the same. So maybe over time, there was an environment where a type of fish being big made it really successful. So maybe that fish got bigger and bigger. Over time, it would have lots of reproductive success. It would have lots of baby fish. And those fish would have its big genes. So maybe over time, they became a shark. And we're comparing these structures, the gills, the fins, the tail, that look similar. But what if we wanted to be more sure than just looking at it being like, well, they look similar? What if we wanted to be more sure, like, about which species or which animals were more closely related or more similar? What's something that we could look at that's much more specific? Bingo. How can scientists be more sure? They can compare the DNA. So if they took the DNA from a shark and compared it to a little segment of the same DNA from a fish per se, seeing if it's very similar or seeing if it's not very similar. So what does this look like? First, I'd like you to write this down. The more similar the DNA of two species is, the more closely related they are. If you can write that down in your notes, that's going to be a key point for today. Use a big book.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, put your pencils down when you're done writing it.